Hi guys, it's Lauren and I am back. I'm going to talk to you guys today about my favorite series. So, my favorite genres, despite what it may have looked like on my channel previously, my two favorite genres are paranormal romance and urban fantasy. Well, I guess three, because historical romance is always going to be a big thing with me. But those three are my favorites, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about my favorite books within those favorite genres. Firstly, we're going to talk about the Dark Hunter series by Sherilyn Kenyon. Now, you may have heard me talk about this series on my channel before. This series is so extensive and so immersive, and it's awesome. Now, one of my favorite things is when you take something that is a well-known and you rewrite it. For instance, this book is a whole new face on vampires, vampire origin, all that stuff. So here, our vampires are not bloodsuckers with a Romanian background. They are dealing mainly in this book in the Greek and Roman pantheons, and then we have actual characters from all over. Now, what I mean by that is, so in this world, when a character has died, Jesus. Usually these characters are fairly old. Now, the story is modern place, but the characters are super old. Now, when a character, a warrior, or whoever has died in this book, and they've died due to a loved one's like betrayal or their armies betray someone on their own side, basically by some kind of deep betrayal, their soul cries out for vengeance, and Artemis up on Olympus hears it, and she offers them a deal. You refuse, and I can let you go to heaven or hell or wherever you go per your religion and beliefs, or you accept. I give you 24 hours or however many hours to exact your revenge on whoever betrayed you, but then you owe me your soul. So what she does with that, when they accept, is they become her Dark Hunters. She sends them off to Akron, who is the first Dark Hunter, to train them, and then they are basically given areas to patrol, like New Orleans or China or London or somewhere, wherever. They've given an area to patrol, and they are basically protecting the human population from demons. Now, demons are descended from Apollites, Apollites being descended from Apollo himself. Apollites are descendants of Apollo who were cursed. They are cursed to die on their 23rd or 27th, 20-something birthday. It's a horrible, slow, painful death. They basically turn really old and wither away and die, and it's supposed to be really bad. But in the way they found to fight this is some Apollites choose to go in the way that they have been, fated to go, or they fight it by, they found a way to elong their life by taking human souls into themselves, and once they do that, they become demons. Once you're demons, you're basically Dark Hunter food. They have free reign. They can't touch the Apollites until they cross over and become demons. So demons are the traditional vampires in the story. They still don't suck blood, but they remove your soul. They hunt in packs, and then the Dark Hunters were created to hunt them. Now, Dark Hunters, since they are an abomination, most of the Greek pantheon hates them. They were given a bunch of rules in order to check and balance system. So they can't all be close to each other without draining each other's powers, and they have to follow the same rules as the Apollites. So they can't be out in the sunlight or like vampires do. No sparkling here. Sunlight will kill them. They have fangs because Apollites have fangs, and they have increased strength. They can see at night, that kind of a thing, to better hunt. So they are apex predators, basically. Artemis is not a very well-loved person in this book, in this series, and each of these Dark Hunters have their own. Basically, Dark Hunters are forbidden to marry or do any of that, but they each have their own little story, and in their own little story, of course, their romance. So, yeah. Along with Dark Hunters, there are Were Hunters, which are shifters, bear, wolf, tigers, dragons, all kinds, and they have their own whole backstory. They're basically divided up into two species, Catageria or, God, I can't think of the other, Acadian. And that has a whole story about descendant from who and what. Basically, the difference between Acadian and Catageria is one is human that turns animal, the other's base form is animal and turns human. and they war amongst each other. And then some of them can also be dark hunters. And there's this whole crazy, like, it's a very extensive universe, but she doesn't hit you with it all at once. So if you do read the story, you have to start at the beginning. You can read each individual story for its own enjoyment, but there will be some aspects and some characters you're going to be like, where they come from, who the hell is that, some powers you won't understand, some different aspects of different pantheons, because different pantheons get introduced. Like, there's the Greek and Roman, then we get the Atlantean pantheon, then we get all kind of other, like, werehunters, dream hunters, dark hunters. It's awesome. It's awesome and very extensive. Like, there's one arc that transcends all of them, and then they each have their own individual story. So there's like 28 or 29 of them now. So when you look at how the books are numbered, it's like Dark Hunter number 29, but Dream Hunter number 3, or Dark Hunter number 29, but Werehunter number 6, or whatever. So there's all these little sub kind of storylines, and it's a very extensive universe, but it's kind of complicated, but still not as bad as some high fantasy novels are. But definitely check it out. They're awesome. Not only does she write under Sherilyn Kenyon, but she writes under the pseudonym of Kinley McGregor. So under Kinley McGregor, she has historical romance, which, you know me, like this one, Taming the Scotsman. It's got Highlanders in it. That's my shit. But she also writes historical paranormal romance. So this one is the Lords of Avalon series, in which this main character is an assassin for Merlin. So it's really cool. So then we're going to go into more urban than paranormal. This is definitely urban fantasy, even though it has a paranormal aspect to it as well. The distinction is very subtle, but it's there. So then we have the Mercy Thompson series by Patricia Briggs. This entire series is amazing. Now, this series differs in that instead of it being a whole bunch of different characters, we get one main character, and one arc, and we just get to see these people move on, and what follows these characters. We don't have to keep track of all these billions of people, that just individual story arcs and how they tie together. No, we don't get any of that. We follow one main character, Mercy Thompson, and Mercy Thompson is a coyote walker. Now, she is the only one that she is aware of, and she was raised by what is that basin pack? I don't know. She was raised by basically the alpha of all of the alphas of werewolves. So Bran is his name. Everyone's like totally terrified of him, even though he looks like a teenage pizza delivery guy. And she was raised by him, and despite the fact he terrifies everybody, she has maintained a spunky, very rebellious personality. She finds her own ways to get back at him that won't get her punished, because they can't prove that she did it. Now, when she wants to get away from him and live on her own, she agrees she can go move to the Tri-Cities area. But in order to keep an eye out on her, because she is like a daughter to him now, she sets her up in this trailer where she'll basically be living next to the alpha of the Tri-Cities pack. Now, the alpha, Adam Hoffman, is just typical alpha male, but it is reined in some because Adam was a Civil War or World War vet. He's fairly old, but he is very chivalrous because of the area he was raised in. So while he doesn't believe women are weak necessarily, he doesn't swear in front of women, that kind of a thing. He doesn't belittle them, but he's still like polite in front of them. He tries very hard not to swear in front of Mercy. Now, there is a romance here, but it is very slow burn. Like, they don't even get together in the first books. If you like slow burn romances, this is a series you need to check out. I don't like slow burns, but this was so well done that I love this series. When I was introduced to it, it was 8 books in, and I read all 8 back to back to back. I spent like $60 on ebooks a day, and I read them all in a week. And then 2 months later, I went and started over my favorite books out of that series. And then the 9th one came out, I plummeted through it. And then the 10th one came out a couple months ago, and I plowed right through it and bought it the day it came out as well. It is an amazing series. Like, Mercy is one of those women, like, she is going to fight. She does not believe in meek, mild-mannered. She is, by her standards, not very feminine. Like, there's permanent grease ingrained into her hands because she is a VW mechanic, and she's just not our typical character. But she finds a way to get done what needs to be done. There is a book in this series, however, just to warn you, that will need a trigger warning. Off the top of my head, I can't remember which book it is, but I'll post it up here. There is sexual assault in one of these books. It is towards the end. And then the subsequent books after that deal with a little bit of PTSD. But I will, when I figure out which book it is, Silver something, I think. I don't remember. I'll put the name of the book that it is up there. But don't let that deter you. You can skip over that part. I will, even if you want to read this book and you want to know what section it is involved in to avoid, if you message me or ask me in the comments, I will go tell you what pages to avoid. But do not let that deter you from the book, because it is a very awesome series. Promise. I promise, I promise. Along that vein of urban fantasy, we have the Kate Daniels series by Alana Andrews. Now, the Kate Daniels series is set in Atlanta, Georgia. But it is not like it's set in Atlanta and then there's like this hidden underworld of creatures like in the Dark Hunterverse, or there's like hidden vampires affair or whatever like in the Mercy Thompson. This one, the world is one in which something happened like X amount of years ago, so now there's magic, but it comes in waves. So when magic is up, technology is down. When technology comes up, the magic doesn't work. So you kind of get to see, not only do they have these instances, all kind of creatures that got unleashed in magic waves, and all these people that like transformed, and there are shifters and vampires, and there's a really unique take on the vampires. Instead of them being like coherent cognitive beings and very sneaky with their control over people and drinking blood and whatnot, vampires are actual corpses that donated their bodies to science, and necromancers control them. So there is this like vampire stable type thing, and the necromancers are in this like popular casino, and they control, and once they lose control for whatever reason, like if the necromancer faints or someone kills them or whatever happens, they lose control of the vampire. That's when you get like the rage-filled bloodthirsty monster. So that's one aspect of it I really like. I really like the fact that magic comes in and out in waves, and so you kind of got, even getting around the city sometimes takes some forethought and maneuvering. And then our main character, Kate Daniels, I can't tell you too much about her without revealing a lot, because her character just kind of goes through this, not transformation, but we learn more about her backstory in subsequent books. Now, this is a romance as well, and one that we follow the same characters amongst several books, and it is also a slow burn in which there is no getting together in the first book. Like, there is some shit to work through. Do I like you? Don't I? Kind of, not really angsty, but it is a very slow burn. The other main character, Curran, is the Beast Lord, who is like the alpha, is what they would call in other books, but he is like this huge, massive lion shifter. And he is alpha of alpha males, and he just, it's a really good book. Like, he took over the pack when he was still a child, and he has held on to it with an iron fist ever since then. And then Mercy's coming in, not Mercy, damn, wrong book. And then Kate's coming in and just kind of undermining all his like iron fisted control, but he kind of likes it. And Kate is definitely not a Mary Sue. Like, sometimes she gets her ass handed to her, but she picks back up. She uses what resources she can get a hold of, what people she can get a hold of, because she's kind of like this member of a police force kind of thing, but it's not really the police. They're called like knights, and it's all, I still can't even tell you too much of that without spoiling stuff, because this story kind of unfurls as the books go along. But it is also one that is really good. So even if you are not a fan of urban fantasy, if you like high fantasy or paranormal or any of that fiction with like fae, werewolves, shifters, vampires, any of that, those two series in particular, the Mercy Thompson series by Patricia Briggs and the Kate Daniels series by Alana Andrews, those are two to check out. Even if you are not an urban fantasy fan, they will make you urban fantasy fans, I promise. So then that brings me to the Immortal After Dark series by Kresley Cole. Now, these are back to the same kind of format as the Sherilyn Kenyon Dark Hunter series, where you follow different characters in each book. But the one overall arc of all the books is that they're heading towards this ascension. The ascension being the Immortals go through this kind of battle every so many years, like clockwork. It's like every so many, like half a millennia, whatever. And the purpose of this is like a biological check and balances. So the immortal population doesn't get so big that it outgrows the human population. The humans do not know they exist. So it's more of a paranormal romance, not urban fantasy. But there are vampires, shifters, there are Valkyrie, demons, demon kings, royalty, all kind of stuff in here. One of the main characters who follows book to book is hilarious. Her name is Nyx. She's a soothsayer, so she's a little baddie. She's a Valkyrie. They call her Nucking Futz Nyx because she just does shit. Nobody can figure out whose side she's actually on. Because she's basically setting everything in place for the Ascension. So they see her as sometimes screwing people over, but she's a little anti-heroish because sometimes it's for their good. Sometimes it might not be. You just kind of have to read the books. But like this one in particular is Lothair. Lothair is a vampire. This one is one of my favorites because the mythology in this one is that the vampire drinking blood, especially if you drink a person to death, will start to cause madness in you, and then that's when you get the red eyes. And you can't see the cover from here, but he's got red eyes. Like, he's been batshit crazy for a very long time, and he is batshit crazy. Like, when we get to his story from his point of view, everyone's terrified of him, and it's for good reason. Like, even his inner, like, it's just all over the place. But it's amazing. And particularly, so that's why when we get to his love story, it's really cool. But I said all that to say that these books are a little bit formulaic in that it's always the main hero and heroine. The dude is always like this aggressive or gross species that nobody wants to mate. So it's either vampire or shifters. And the werewolves are, the Lycae, rather, excuse me, in this book are very alpha, and that scares some of the females they're mated to if they're not alpha. So since it's Ascension, there's a lot of like crossing over in mates that apparently doesn't happen that often, but it starts to happen during the Ascension to either start to make up for population loss that's going to be coming, or to produce key players in the Ascension, or for whatever reason, but it doesn't happen that often. So now is a particular time, since Ascension is coming, that we're starting to get a lot of cross-species blending in the mates. So like a vampire will be mated to like a Lycae, or a Valkyrie will be mated to a vampire or a Lycae, or a demon to a witch or whatever. So a lot of the times the males are the Lycae or the demons or the vampires, and the females are the witch or the Valkyrie or whatever. And there are some instances of crossover, but mostly the male is the more aggressive or the gross breed, and the female is either doesn't want to deal with an aggressive Lycae, or is scared of vampires, or is grossed out because it's a demon or whatever reason, and the female ends up running away. So in that particular part, it is a little formulaic, but the characters are so well fleshed out, and they're all hilarious. They are so well done. Like, none of the characters start to sound like another one. They each have their own, and because of the amount of characters and books in the series, that is really impressive. There is sex in these. I think there really is not in the Patricia, in the Mercy Thompsons or the Kate Dana series. It's kind of fade to black-ish. But there is sex in the first series that I mentioned as well, the Dark Country series. Now, like I said, all of them do not follow the formula. There are some instances where, there are characters who have known each other, but they're cursed. So one is constantly being reborn, and every time he goes to reincarnation, he's supposed to like die just after they find each other or remember who they are or whatever. So they're not all formulaic, but a lot of them kind of are. But that does not take away from the characterization. There's a lot of like pop culture references, and the characters are usually like, the females are very non-stereotypic. Like, a lot of them are like to sleep around or spend a lot of money and do whatever, and they have no shame in it. For that reason, that's why they don't want to mate. I like sleeping with all these different people and partying and drinking and those other crazy stuff. They don't really do the virgin thing too much in these, so that's pretty good. So yes, those guys are my favorite series. Yay. I know it seems like I don't read a lot of adult, but I do. I don't know if you guys ever want to hear about them, because there's not a lot of it on these channels, or maybe they don't do very well, or maybe I haven't found them. If you know of any good channels that read a lot of like adult paranormal, urban fantasy, that kind of thing, let me know. Or if it's your channel, comment, because I would love to follow some of you guys. I do like my YA too, but my first and true loves are the adult paranormal and urban fantasy. So that's it, guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and I will see you later with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.